You're watching the Politicit podcast.
Good evening. Welcome to Politicit podcast. I'm Senator John Johnson, and we've got Bart Blair with us today. And we're actually talking. We've got a series of interviews with people in the Ogden city races, and you're running for the city council.
I am.
In an at-large seat, which all of them are at-large, right? Or are they?
No, there's 4 districts.
Okay.
And then there's 3 at large.
Okay. And you're in one of the at-large seats.
I'm at large B. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At large seat B, which I've held for a number of years.
So this isn't your first rodeo with politics, right? Because I remember you ran in the mayoral race.
I did run 2 years ago in the mayoral race. I've been on the city council. Like I said, this is my 4th term. I'm in my 4th term, so I've been on the city council a while, and then. Yeah.
So you're an incumbent in this seat then?
I'm an incumbent in this seat.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know who you are. I know where you're from. Mm-hmm. But let's get our audience to know you better.
Okay. My family, and not me and my children, but my family is parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. We've all lived here in Ogden. I was born and raised here. Most of my relatives lived within maybe a mile and a half radius. We've kind of stayed pretty close up here, around 30th Street, between 20th and 30th Street. I went through Ogden City Schools.
So you were Ogden High student.
I was Ogden High before then.
Go Tigers!
I went to Central Middle School when Central was still around, which was great. That was probably my.
When I was growing up, that was always known as a tough school.
Yeah.
Right.
It was probably my most memorable years. That was a great 3 years of school for me. I played sports when I was younger, and I met a coach that lived over on about 32nd Street, and he came to my house once and said, "Hey, there's not as many youth your age on back then. That was my side of town. There was 2 schools, Central and Mount Ogden." He said, "Why don't you come play sports with this age group?" And he said, "It won't change your life now, but in the future, it'll really pay dividends." And that was a hard decision. I was 6th grade, going across town. To me, that was across town. I started playing playing sports, soccer and basketball and baseball, and so I would go to school with my neighborhood friends and my church friends, and then the nights I had practice, I would leave Central and go along Monroe, stop at our shop, get a change of clothes, and then everything was at T.O. Smith.
That's your service station,
That's our
right?
service station. So I'd go there, and then, so when I got to high school, I remember walking that first day of high school, I remember thinking, I literally know everybody. I knew people from Central, and I knew a lot of people from Mount Ogden. That changed my life. I couldn't believe how much knowing people and having those connections can change your life.
So you were in sports in high school and middle school.
Yep.
And were you in student government as well?
I was. A lot of people think student government is a popularity contest.
Right.
And I'm quick to point out, when I was in high school, I was little. I think I graduated at 5'3", 5'3". I didn't weigh 100 pounds. So I wasn't like this big, strapling football player by any means or most popular, but I was student body president at Ogden High my senior year. And it's because I knew a lot of people.
Right.
And it's one thing to know a lot of people. Just like anything else, it's harder to maintain those relationships through the next 3 to 4 years. And then that was another lesson I learned early through Central and Ogden High was I've been given a great opportunity to meet and to know and to have a lot of acquaintances, but it wouldn't do me any good if I forgot some of them or
you didn't treat them decently.
Or I prioritized one group ahead of another. And I learned that at a young age, and I'm proud of my experiences.
And that's and that's really what got you into that position.
It is.
So after high school, what did you do?
After high school, I had a scholarship to Weber State, so they would hold it for me. So I went one semester, and then I served a mission in Frankfurt, Germany.
Oh, Frankfurt.
Yeah, and then I came home and went back to school.
We were just in Germany a few weeks ago. Started in Nuremberg and
Okay.
then went on a tour down to Basel, Switzerland. But
Beautiful.
yeah, it's
Beautiful.
What a place.
Yep. So yeah, and then I went back to Weber State. Fell in love, got married.
Oh, what'd you major in?
Up there's a program called Sales and Service. And
yeah.
it was a very wide. There was a lot of
Rick
possibilities.
Dove, who was in
yeah,
there.
Rick Dove was.
Great. He's in my ward actually.
So yeah, so that was. It was a really
Very
neat,
popular major.
very popular major. It was really neat. Lot of opportunities.
Right.
So
Yeah, I know a lot of people that were in that. I went to Weber State too, but.
And then I graduated, went and got a job. I had a couple sales jobs. And then we talked about the service station. Our family had a service station that had been in our years since the late 50s.
So was it your grandfather or your great-grandfather?
It was my grandfather's.
It was your grandfather.
My grandfather was Ed Blair was a Coke salesman. He was delivering Coca-Cola to a little shop. The guy said, "This will be our last delivery. We're going to close up." My grandpa said, "What's going to happen?" The guy said, "We're just leaving. We're just giving it back or just abandoning it, walking away." And my grandpa bought it that day. He was a Coke salesman one day and a mechanic shop owner the next. And from there, he turned it in, added gas pumps. He built we had an old car wash, one of the first in the state that actually had a conveyor belt that would pull you through. Now they're almost on every corner. But
yeah.
Back in the 70s, that was very, very rare. And so he built that and then passed it down. In the late 90s. Again, this was an old cinder block building, and it wasn't by any means up to state code. So the state came in and said some changes needed to be made, and it was just so expensive to upgrade, to just repair the changes that needed to be made, and so it was easier to kind of bulldoze it and just start with a clean slate. And so in 1999 we opened what's there now.
Right. Wow.
And I've been there since then.
So you've been working there since then, and how long since you've taken over?
When we built it, my dad, just like my grandpa, is a mechanic by trade. He's a mechanic. So he has always stayed on that side of it. I tried mechanic work. It just never clicked. And I tell people all the time I wasn't smart enough to be a mechanic. And some people don't believe that. But there's a great skill in mechanic work, and I just didn't have it. So when we built what we have now, I was able to run the store. And then my brother and I ran the store. And then my brother had another opportunity to go work somewhere else. And so since about 2011, I've ran the store by myself.
Oh.
So
interesting. Well, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come right back.
Sounds good.
Tired of media bias? Frustrated by political noise? Politicit.com cuts through the clutter, giving you real facts, clear analysis, and unbiased insight on the issues that matter most. Stay informed, stay empowered. Whether it's elections, policy changes, or breaking news, we've got you covered. No spin, no agendas, just truth you can trust. Visit Politicit.com today, because informed citizens shape the future. Politicit.com, where politics meets clarity.
Welcome back to Politicit. We've got Bart Blair with us today, running for city council at large.
That's right.
And the incumbent.
The incumbent, yep.
Right. And so, during the break, we talked a little bit about some of the things that you've done in your tenure. Let's talk about a few of those. I thought, the taxing issue I thought was really important, and some of the things you talked about there in terms of fiscal responsibility. And
yeah, I've always felt fiscal responsibility and accountability is very important, and it's taken years that we finally got to a point where we were able to take we just passed the budget. We were able to give the employees a raise because of that, but because of things we've done in the last 2 years. Each year, different departments, whatever number of employees that department has, they have to fund that at 100%. They can't say, well, we have 9, if they have 100 in their department and they only have 90 on the books, they can't say just fund 90, because if they were able to hire more, they wouldn't have the money for that. So they have to fund it at the max amount. And then for years, that money would stay in the department, which would allow them to make financial decisions that benefited that department. And not that they ever did anything that I don't think they needed or deserved, but it sidestepped the city council process. The way it's set up was departments have needs and wants, and they bring those to the city council during the budget process, and then we address those, look at it as the whole, as the city
Yeah, you have to look at the whole city,
as the city
right?
as a whole, and then we make fair and transparent decisions that way. And when we don't have that ability, it just takes that authority from us and gives it to the department directors. And 2 years ago, we raised it again, and we were able this year to save over $3 million in that salary, unused salary, which we were able to put back in
As raises for people.
for the employees this year.
Yeah, and under these inflationary times, that's something you have to worry about.
Wonderful, because that's always a hard thing, right? You want to keep the employees you have, and you want to continue to make sure that they feel valued and needed, and that their salary is competitive amongst other.
But you have this other obligation that
That's
says
right.
I have to protect the taxpayer.
That's right. And so when you have money that you've put aside for salaries and it goes unused, to be able to use that a year later for salaries and help do that. So there's not a financial impact.
You know, one of the big things statewide, I know we've been in a lot of discussions in the legislature about affordable housing. And, Utah, I mean, Ogden's in an interesting position because you've got a mature city that's pretty much built out. But in fact, a lot of my friends talk about this too. I think Ogden, actually, you guys have done a good job in meeting some of the affordable housing goals in very creative ways.
Yeah, I think Ogden, I think it's one of our greatest strengths is Ogden has been able to be very aggressive and yet creative with how we attract projects to our city, because we are built out, because we do have limited space available. So
what do you attribute that to? What are the things that you guys have done within the city to really shine in that area?
I think we've been very, very prudent with our tax increment financing. I think we've been very good at addressing key sections of our city and focusing there. I think, like you said, Ogden has, as a whole, there's needs throughout the whole city, and I think it was a very wise decision to say we're not going to just pick little dots all over this city and try to make a splash. Instead, we're going to focus on the East Central, right here near our downtown and in this area here.
And a lot of those were apartment complexes and stuff, right? Which provided affordable housing.
And so we were able to do that, and we brought in housing projects, and we've been able to take out some areas of the city that had financial or had struggles, and we were able to put something new in there that offered a different price point to people, and it allowed them to have quality home, whether that's townhouses or apartments or condos or whatever it was. But I believe with the space we have, we've been very, very creative, and I think it goes back to having a vision, right? I mean,
right.
It's not just letting anyone come in and
and another big success story I think within Ogden is the whole depot
for sure.
area, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a success story in terms of bringing industry here, bringing jobs for people, and building a tax base.
Yeah, it's one of those gifts that keep on giving. When they set that up years and years ago, I'm not sure they ever really realized its full potential, but I think we have done a great job of maximizing everything we can get out of the BDO, And quite frankly, it's one of the reasons, if not a major reason, why Ogden was able to withstand the COVID years, and that was very lean for a lot of cities, and Ogden not only made it through, but we were very successful.
Well, and now you've got this whole area of town with the Wonderblock and really rebuilding a tax base there, right?
Yes. And I'm excited. We go down there a lot and check the progress, and it's so neat, and I'm excited about the potential that the Wonderblock has for Ogden City and for the downtown and for the tax base here. Those were hard decisions, and I supported that decision from the get-go. Didn't mean that I didn't have questions or concerns or reservations, but we were able to work through those, and I believe through those conversations and hard conversations, we were able to come up with a very good product that put Ogden City in a very good position to be successful.
And now you've got in that facility, you're going to have this downtown store. You're going to have, I understand, a boutique hotel that's going to come that really borders on 25th Street there and provides, more, tourism potential.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We have a wonderful, if not second to none, downtown, and we do a great job of providing people, providing a reason for people to be downtown.
Right.
And we do a great job of that, maybe Monday through Friday and on Saturday mornings, Monday through Friday during the daytime. But at night, it's at nighttime and on weekends that you want to make sure that those businesses are still successful.
Well, and you look at this whole thing that's coming up, the Olympics again.
Yeah.
Snow Basin will be a major part of that for sure. We're talking in the legislature about double tracking the front runner.
Yep.
And I know you guys have plans for bringing back Union Station as a critical part of that. And, when you start talking about that transportation hub, bringing people here and then bringing this as a destination for, winter sports.
For sure.
Right?
Our winter sports is second to none, and we're lucky to have those amenities right here. Not many cities are as lucky as we are. But yeah, I think Ogden is a hub. We're lucky to have, with the new OGX, people from other communities are able to get here with the front runner. People are able to get here easily, and to be dropped off right in our downtown is wonderful. And it's just another way that we can provide. We can get people into our downtown.
Well, I mean, there's certainly been awards all over about that downtown area and how it ranks.
Yep.
Nationwide. I mean, if you think about it, when you put this in combination with Snow Basin, I think is now one of the number one resorts in the ski destinations, really. And then you've got all of this development now up in Powder Mountain. By combining that together with, being able to get people to Ogden as well, I mean, it almost creates another Park City type thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. A couple weeks ago, Ogden City on Friday night had the car show, and then the next day they had the farmers market, and then both those days, Friday and Saturday, Lindquist Field hosted the high school all-star game, and there were over 150,000 people at those events, and that's wonderful. That's what we want to do, is continue to bring people into our town, into our downtown, and let them experience, because we're lucky. We're lucky we get to live here. We get to see it all the time. It's those people that maybe haven't been here in 5, 10, 15, or even 20 years.
Yeah, we've taken this city that was dying.
Yep.
And it's really come back to life, hasn't it?
It's wonderful. I hear daily from people that come here. I'm fortunate. Through our store, I get to see people every day and talk to people every day. And I hear people say, "Oh, I'm here for this or here for that." I haven't been to Ogden in 20 plus years. I can't believe how different it is and how wonderful, how nice. And I joke every time and tell people, don't tell anyone else. We love it here.
Well, that's one of the things too, right? So let me ask you. We're almost out of time, but tell me about your big plans. What are some big ideas that you see coming that you're excited about?
Well,
in
I
Ogden?
think big plans. We're right on the cusp of some momentum right here with the Wonderblock, with the downtown. I think one of the biggest ones is we're right on the cusp of really changing what Ogden City recreation and for youth sports looks like with the addition of Marshall White, which is amazing and beautiful. And I think the new Marshall White Center has been better than we could have dreamed. People are there, and we're way.
People really ought to go see that. I drove past it today,
Yep.
and I've been blown away
Everybody
at
needs to go
how
see
that whole block is transformed, and that really helps to build up
for sure
the core of Ogden,
for
right?
sure. Yep, that's for sure, and that's for so many years during my time on the council. That's what we did. We focused on downtown and the East Central, and that's what that momentum now provides, right? Is we're able to take that downtown and move it 2, 3, 5 blocks and just keep making that ripple bigger and taking that success throughout the city. With the addition of Marshall White Center, now there's talks and there's hope of adding something on the north end of town because it is so popular and so many people are using it. We're in a unique spot because it's, as you know, government isn't always fast, but and there's times that you can catch a lull, and those lulls kill government. But we've been able to maintain those lulls, and we continue to move forward, and now we're on the upswing of a wave.
You know, during the break we talked a little bit about this energy that you feel now that really has reinvigorated you in terms of being part of what's going on, with our new mayor, these projects that you're talking about. But it seems like you've now got a council that works together really well.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to figure that out. It took me a little bit to understand the dynamics of a city council and how that works together, and then how that works with the mayor. And I'm very thankful that the administration understands that role also. And Mayor Nadolski's been very good to work with us. And I've been on city councils where the council and the mayor haven't always worked well together, and it hurts more than just the council or the administration. It hurts the entire city because things stop. One side doesn't move or doesn't want to play nice, and it changes the whole dynamic, and it really cripples the city. It makes it very difficult to get things done.
And at the end of the day, you have to count votes.
You have
right?
to count votes, and that's key. And I think, like I said,
And you don't do that with a hammer.
that's correct.
Right?
But I think in the last couple years, we've been able to really do that well. We've doesn't mean there's not hard conversations. Doesn't mean there's not different views on topics. But when you can work together, when you can come from a place of compromise and of listening, it benefits. Again, it doesn't benefit one side or benefit the other. It benefits the entire city because it allows us to continue to move forward. And I feel like I've worked very hard to be not only a voice for the city council, but also to be a listening board and a confidant to the administration, someone that they feel they can trust and bring ideas to, and then we know we can work together and move those forward.
Well, we're about out of time. If you want to make a final statement, why don't you talk to the voters and tell them why they should vote for you again?
Again, I'm Bart Blair. I'm at large seat B right now. I've held that seat for a number of years, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve the residents of Ogden. When I first got elected, I felt like I was probably the most accessible council member. If I was elected, I would be the most accessible, and through our business, I am. People come and see me every day and talk to me and tell me what they love about Ogden and what they wish was different, and I'm honored to be not only the ears for the city, but also a mouthpiece for those people that feel like something could be better. And I feel like I've taken those and tried to make things better in Ogden. I'm proud of what we've done, both with the financial part of the city and the sustainability, but with our employees through the city, with public safety, helping get that fully staffed and making sure that those officers and those firefighters are valued and we're able to keep them here, so that we're not training and then losing to other agencies. I feel that we're moving towards our city goals at a much quicker pace because we've been able to identify priorities and then fund those priorities and move forward. And if elected, I'll continue to do that, to continue to find those priorities that are going to benefit us as a city and continue to do what we can to get those funded and continue to get those to move forward and try to make Ogden an even better place. And that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a privilege to get to know you better. I've known who you were, but it's really nice to really get one-on-one and talk a little bit. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Again, Bart Blair running for re-election for the City Council in Ogden. And we'll see you guys next week.